right?
Dude, Politico reported there are now 34 positive test results for COVID coming out of Trump's sphere from that one engagement in the Rose Garden, including an admiral from the Coast Guard who now has forced the Joint Chiefs of Staff to quarantine.
Like as in the people who are in charge of the United States military.
That is correct.
So who's like
Okay, you want the
what?
list?
Well, yeah, I want the list, but I also want to know like who's manning the shop right now.
Well, I mean, I guess they're doing everything. They're not the Coast Guard admiral's sick, and I mean,
Uh,
there are other military leaders that can fill in the place, but they're probably just operating from home. And I'm sure that the U.S. government has figured out a way for them to be able to do what they need to do. Let me know when you're ready for the list. I got the list.
I'm ready for the list. I
You
mean,
ready for the list? Okay.
yeah, I'm ready.
So here's the latest. This is reported for Politico. Okay. So number one, Stephen Miller, the latest person to diagnose positive. He's a senior advisor to the president. Many of you are familiar with Stephen Miller because Stephen Miller's the one that designed the immigrant campaign, the anti-immigrant campaign, and the anti-Muslim campaign that was going on in the Trump administration, right? So Stephen Miller is the latest to be able to do that. There's also another military aide or valet that works in close proximity to the president. This is separate from his body man that is now tested positive for COVID. In addition, there are two people who work in the White House residence who have tested positive for COVID. Okay, Admiral Charles Ray, Vice Commandant of the Coast Guard, tested positive and has now forced the Joint Chiefs of Staff into quarantine as a precaution. So Kellyanne McEnany, who is the press secretary, and then two of her aides have all tested positive. Of course, she just had a press conference not too long ago where she wasn't using a face mask the same day she tested positive for COVID-19. Greg Laurie, who's senior pastor at Harvest Christian Fellowship. Greg Laurie was a big name a few years ago in Christian circles. He has it because he attended the Rose Garden ceremony. Claudia Conway, Kelly Conway's daughter, has COVID-19 as a result of her mother having COVID-19.
Oh, wait, whoa. You mean the outspoken teenager
Yes.
who basically like really made both of her parents quit their jobs to come back home because
Yes.
she was so upset.
Yes.
Little Claudia
Yes.
has COVID now?
Yes.
Oh, I got to go to her Twitter feed right now. Keep talking.
Okay.
I got to see this. I know it's bad.
All right. Senator Ron Johnson, who was at the ceremony, has it. He's a senator. I'm trying to remember which state he's from. I forgot what state he's from. Oh, he's from Wisconsin. He has it. Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey, has it. And then Nick Luna, who was Trump's body man, has it as well. Then Donald Trump and Melania Trump have it. Okay, and then hopefully Barron does not get it. Ronna McDaniel, chair of the Republican National Committee, we knew about her. Mike Lee, another senator that sits on the Judiciary Committee, has it. And Reverend John Jenkins, who was the president of the University of Notre Dame, who was present at this ceremony. Tom Tillis, another senator from North Carolina, has it as well. Then we have Kellyanne Conway, who has it. Bill Sepien, Trump's campaign manager, has it. And Hope Hicks has it as well as the counsel to the president. Now, there are 11 staffers who helped to put on the presidential debate who now are tested positive for COVID. And in addition to that, 3 members of the White House press corps have tested positive for COVID-19.
And you wonder why Joe Biden said yesterday, I don't know if we need to have another debate if you're not over COVID. I mean, honestly, if I were Kamala tonight, again, as I said yesterday, I would push for arguing in Zoom rooms. I know she's bringing in the plexiglass, and I can't believe Pence fought it. But the truth is, if people are just still, I mean, look at that list that you gave. Stephen Miller, he tested negative for days, which is funny. They love that part, right? That's the thing. The Trump talking point is, I tested negative for 5 days before I tested positive. It's like, dude, yeah, who cares? You tested positive, right? And the way that these things are dragging out, it is not unreasonable to think that if Miller got it yesterday, Kayleigh McEnany got it the day before, that perhaps Pence has it now and doesn't even know it, right? He's testing negative. Great, that's wonderful. But again, the way this disease is, it kind of hides. And if you're Kamala Harris and her team, you got to be thinking like, yo, don't shake his hand. I mean, stay behind your plexiglass shield
Yeah.
and do like the Saturday Night Live, skit. Pull your like little lectern back a few more feet. I'm serious, man. This. I mean, let's just be real. If so you and I both handle the holy text on occasion for preaching purposes. If there were a biblical text that talked about a prophet warning the king that, Your Highness, if you keep doing this, let's say the prophet's name was, I don't know, Dr. Fauci. He came from the land of the CDC. And the Lord sent Dr. Fauci, the prophet, to say to the king, if you don't change your ways, you and your whole, land will be stricken by this wicked disease.
Yep.
And the said king said, get out of here. Give me a prophet that will tell me what I want to hear. And I want lying prophets. And said disease actually hit the king and the queen and the king's top aides and officials and all the military leaders around the king. Does that not sound like an Old Testament biblical text?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
From the book of Fauci.
From the book of Fauci. I mean, the prophet Fauci, right? And it is absolutely amazing to me, right? How many times have we seen this in human history?
Yes.
Where, plagues hit, for all intents and purposes, COVID-19 is a plague, right? Plagues hit, wipes out royal families, all these other things, and folk could have taken precautions to keep themselves safe, but they don't do it. And here we have the latest in 21st century medical technology, medical understanding. Now, granted, part of this is Trump's fault because he got rid of the section in the CDC that works on pandemics, right? He cut that department out of the budget, but we had the information we needed to do the right thing. And we chose not to. And we chose
right. That he chose not to.
Yes.
Right? I mean, this is, look.
But it's not just him. It's not just him.
No, it's not. Right. But what I'm saying is that so you're the president and there's a greater responsibility on you than anyone else. And, while we make light of it this morning, this is a morning show, this is what we do. Of course, we know this is absolutely serious. And the truth of the matter is that there are people around this country who are dying and who are sick and who are going into the hospitals and who are passing this infection on to other people, not because they have to, but because they have believed him. And that even after, so any goodwill that he received on Friday when he got the diagnosis where folk were, even his enemies were like, okay, let me just stop now. Joe Biden pulling negative ads and let's pray for the president. It's all gone, right? It's all gone with that stunt on Monday, going up to the White House, ripping off the mask. And now yesterday, the tweet, we didn't get to this yet, his latest tweet where he inflates the numbers of flu deaths, saying that 100,000 people typically die. Actually, the average number is more like 20,000. And that's with people being vaccinated. And remember, we don't shut the economy down and make people go into quarantine when there's a flu outbreak.
Right.
We have shut the entire country down for months, and we have still lost 200,000 people.
That's right.
Could you imagine if we went about, this absurd idea that we should be like Sweden and just go around? America could not have handled it. Over 1 million people would be dead by now if we took that approach. And so even with the extreme measures that we have taken, we have still lost 211,000 and counting. Yeah. They say that number will double before it is finished. And again, that is with everything that we know. And the person in charge, even after being stricken, even after all those names you listed, continues to downplay the seriousness of this disease, and now is back to his previous talking point that this is nothing more than just your run-of-the-mill strain of the flu. This is This is beyond outrageous.
Well, and not to mention the fact that, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday, right, that this is a guy who has a state-of-the-art medical team. Right.
Thanks to us. Thanks to us.
That's right. Dedicated to him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, right? And 366 in a leap year. That has a hospital inside his house, not to mention access to, some of the greatest military, medical facilities in the world. And, who had to get rushed out of his house because his oxygen saturation went down and, his temperature was going up. Coming back home, and now there was an article out this morning that claimed that Trump claims he's symptom free. I seriously doubt that. I seriously doubt that. I saw that this morning, and I just couldn't believe this. So,
Well, oh my God, man, this is just now. Meanwhile, you saw in there's a new outbreak. Hospitalizations are rising
yeah,
around the country.
hmm the numbers
Guess
going up. Yeah, yep.
guess the 7 states that are leading. Among the 7 states that are leading. This will surprise nobody.
What's that?
Wyoming,
Mm-hmm.
South Dakota,
Mm-hmm.
North Dakota,
Mm-hmm.
Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Those are 4 of the 7 that are that hospitalizations are like at a record high. Guess what happened in that area about a month ago?
Trump.
Sturgis.
Oh yeah. The motorcycle rally.
I told people, I was like, bruh, like I love to ride like the next person, but
I know. I asked you if you were going to go.
shh, please. No. 400,000 people with no mask trying to prove how macho they are. I'm good. 400. I mean, so no surprise here that one of the things they left behind, in addition to money for the local economy, is that the hospitalization rates are rising in those 4 states, and they're right in the direct path. And so it's like we continue to think that this thing is over, and it's not over. And you know what else is taking a hit right now is Trump's poll numbers. I mean, every day the new poll comes out. The national poll with Biden is widening. The battleground states are beginning to break, and Trump continues to double down. Could this have been played any worse?
I hear you. I hear you on that. I'm just very cautious about these polls. I've been saying this. I'm just very cautious
Yeah.
about it.
I think the real debate is what happens after November 3rd. Honestly, I don't.
That's the battle. That's the
Yeah,
battle.
what Trump decides to do, or his sycophants and folk like that. That's a different issue. But I don't think at this point there's no way he can come back. Well, I won't say that because you can never count this guy out. But what I'm saying is that you had the country in the palm of your hands last week with that sickness. Now let's just talk politics. You're a former elected official.
I am.
Now, in that moment when you're sick and you're a candidate who is known for not eliciting empathy from people, right? All you had to do was just stay out of the public eye for a week. Let there be all this dramatic, it's like, oh, he must be really sick. He's not tweeting. Hey, man, people would have I'm just telling you, even your worst enemies, it would have shut them up. They couldn't say anything. But with this bravado and this, this act of, that crazy scene, have you seen that they turned it into a commercial? When he got dropped off by the helicopter and walked up the steps? It's this
commercial now. Yeah.
Oh God, it's a highly produced package. I mean, slow-mo. They've edited out where he couldn't breathe at the top of the stairs. That's gone. But I'm like, you've only helped yourself with your hardcore base of 40% or less in the country. You have not expanded it, and to the rest of us, it looks idiotic. I mean, just the regular run-of-the-mill person is like, dude, people are dying out here. What are you doing?
What's the end game in that, though, right? What is the end game? Is the end game actually the election, or is the end game just to create so much chaos that, his faction feels like it has power again?
Yeah, I think it's. I don't think that he thinks he can actually. Well, maybe he does think he can win. I do think, as you've said a long time, this is about beyond the election. So here's my friendly reminder to everyone. Don't let it be close. If you don't let this, I mean, this is like in sports analogies at halftime when you're playing the champ, the person who's got the belt, got the ring, has the trophy, whatever, your coach will come in that room and say, we cannot let this come down to the referees deciding the outcome of this game.
Yeah.
If it's in the hands of the refs, we're going to lose because the champ is always going to get the advantage. So that means in Pennsylvania, it can't be 51 to 49%. It's got to be like 60 to 40. In Michigan and Wisconsin and all those battleground states and nationally, that is the only way that you kind of really preempt what you have to believe is the answer to your question, what's the end game?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I know we got to go to break here in a sec. I just think that there's a way in which, we often forget that Pennsylvania is a rural state, right? Pennsylvania is not all Philly. And I could see how Trump's bravado would play out in the center part of the state and parts of the western part of the state and actually help to strengthen him, especially for those folk that were deeply upset about Governor Wolf shutting down the state in the first place. And those, same folk that were also out there, protesting in Harrisburg with their guns. So wanting the state to open back up. So I could see how this could, reinforce some things there. So I don't know. I mean, I think this thing is still a toss-up, and it's a dangerous time. A political election doesn't have to be dangerous. It can be tension-filled, but it doesn't have to be dangerous. But we're living in dangerous times.
Yeah, well, because look at who we have as the president right now. I mean, I can back that up with a ton of evidence, that statement. So that's not just simply my opinion. We got to take a break, and we come back. Let's go down to Texas, and we got to talk about this really tragic story that we said we were talking about yesterday. The shooting death of an unarmed black man, and fortunately, the officer who did it has been arrested, charged with murder. But as we all know, it ain't over until the person's been charged, convicted, served their sentence, and actually served their sentence. So this really won't be over for multiple years. But for right now, let's talk about Jonathan Price on the other side of the break. This is the Power Hour, along with Bishop Dwayne Royster and Mark Kelly Tyler. Not Mark Kelly, who's running for the Senate, by the way. We'll be right back.
Reverend Tyler, with November 3rd around the corner, do you know how you'll be voting this year?
Dr. Callahan, I requested my mail-in ballot, and I'm returning it the day it comes in the mail.
That's perfect, because we can't leave anything to chance this year.
Already received your mail-in ballot? You're just a few simple steps away from turning your mailbox into a ballot box. Here's how. After selecting your candidates, place your marked ballot into the small secrecy envelope and seal it. It's a 2-envelope process, so then you'll place the small secrecy envelope into the larger one. Make sure to seal that one too. Sign and date it, and then it's as simple as dropping it in your mailbox, no postage necessary, or returning it to your county election office. And if you still want to sign up to vote by mail or find out where to drop off your mail-in ballot, visit votespa.com.
I'm not waiting until November 3rd. I'm returning my mail-in ballot the day it comes in the mail.
Or you can return your ballot to your county election office.
I've got my plan. Make your plan to vote today.
Paid for by Power Interfaith.
Keystone First VIP Choice HMO SNP Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan has a 4 out of 5 star rating and is one of the highest rated Medicare plans in the region. Keystone First VIP Choice and you are better together. If you live in Philadelphia, Bucks, Chester, Montgomery, or Delaware County, and you have both Medicare and Medicaid, choose the Medicare plan that is working to help you get better care. Enjoy extra benefits at no cost to you with Keystone First VIP Choice. You get benefits like dental, vision, and transportation to and from your medical appointments. They also cover a fitness membership to a gym of your choice, $150 toward over-the-counter pharmacy items. There's no copay for doctor's visits. They offer a large provider network, a great prescription plan, dental coverage, and even eyeglasses. Plus, you don't have to wait for open enrollment. You can change your coverage every quarter. Keystone First VIP Choice. The name you trust, the service you deserve. Call Keystone First VIP Choice today at 1-877-686-1760 or visit KeystoneFirstVIPChoice.com.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
To African Americans
What do you have to lose?
More than we could have ever imagined. Trump's policies make black people less safe, and his downplaying of coronavirus cost black lives. It's time to elect someone who cares about us. Joe Biden. Joe will fight racism and injustice everywhere. He'll expand Obamacare and rebuild our economy so it works for all of us. Request a ballot now. Make a plan to vote. Our lives depend on it.
Paid for by Ask Me People, which is responsible for the content of this ad. AskMePeople.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. Pretty good ride here in Philadelphia so far this morning. No major problems. 95 southbound yet through the construction. Just a little slow. Cotman down through Bridge. Down to 3 lanes there. Further south, no problems yet. Northbound looks good. Vine Expressway, no problems there through Center City, Philadelphia. Schuylkill Expressway westbound a bit slow. University through 30. Down to 1 lane again with ongoing construction. Eastbound side looks good. PA Turnpike, Blue Route 476. No major issues. In New Jersey, 4255, 295 trouble free. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour with Mark Kelly Tyler and Dwayne Royster. We're kicking it off today talking about, of course, Donald Trump and the growing number of cases, 34 to date, of people that have been around him that have now tested positive for COVID-19. But hey, we want to also give a shout out to all of our listeners that are checking us out via Facebook Live right there. We see Raphael and Joseph, Arun, Sheila. Good morning, First Lady Leslie Patterson Tyler is out there checking us out today. God bless you. Nicole Streets, Roberta Alford is out there. Sandra Fields, Shirley Carter. Nicole Streets, Hoboken Mendez. Hey, how you doing today? Good to see you.
Buenos dias.
All right, Bernita Francine. Tawanda is checking in from the Lancaster area. And we are grateful for each and every one of you for checking us out today. I think I got everybody there. We deeply appreciate it. Now, you were bringing up the case of Jonathan Price, who was shot and killed this past weekend in Texas. That's a real sad scenario. This is the second one that somebody was shot and killed by the police after trying to break up a fight.
Well, yeah, and this story is particularly tragic because, obviously we don't know all the facts yet, but from what witnesses continue to say, there seems to be a common thread. And the fact that he's been charged with the murder, he being Officer Sean Lucas, who shot and killed Jonathan Price, that he's been charged with murder this fast and arrested, seems to suggest then that what we are hearing in those initial reports from the witnesses is probably close to the truth. Because listen, they don't arrest cops very fast. When they do, it's usually after a very drawn out kind of thing. But, and again, if these kind of stories trigger you, let me just kind of give you a fair warning right now that we'll be talking about it. But Price, who was a personal trainer and an athlete, very close with, in fact, one of the guys who was tweeting about this had been signed with the Phillies and broke his leg last year. Will Middlebrooks, white guy, who said Jonathan Price was one of his best friends growing up. So, I mean, he's got like all this kind of incredible love. He's in the store, and man, I tell you, the story gives me a flashback because my late grandfather, we were traveling to Colorado once, and I was a teenager, and a couple started fighting next to me in the payphone, show you how long ago it was. And I tried to break it up, and man, he got out the car, snatched me, and was just paranoid. He was like, don't you ever get in the middle of something between a man and a woman, and, they'll turn around and kill you. And I think we've all heard that before, that, if you get involved, the couple may turn on you. Yeah. But what we have not heard is that if you get involved, resolve it, and then the cops show up, the cops will kill you. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened. Apparently, the entire dispute was over. Jonathan Price, Good Samaritan, gets in, stops this couple from fighting in the convenience store. The cop shows up. He instinctively, recognizing the times we live, being Jonathan Price, raises his hands and says, look, I had nothing to do with it. It was not me fighting. I broke it up. Turns to walk away. He is tased.
That's right.
As he's tased, the cop, these are according to the reports, so we can only take it at that word, but the report is that the officer who then shot him says he mistook and perceived his body shaking from being tased as an imminent threat, and then shot and killed him.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
His body is shaking because you tased a man who had his hand up.
That's right.
Who was trying to explain to you that he had nothing to do with it. So why you tased him in the first place, I have no idea when you just arrived on the scene. And then you shoot and kill him because his body is shaking.
Yeah, that was murder. That was straight up murder.
Man, I just, I mean, how many times? I guess that's the, I mean, at what point, what can you do? We say, raise your hands. We say, present yourself in the most non-threatening way. But when your skin and the color of your skin is itself the most threatening thing, you cannot change. We're not chameleons. You can't change that in the moment.
No.
And so there literally is nothing else he could have done short of having his pastor stand next to him on one side and his mother on the other side to say to the cop, don't shoot, he's not a threat.
Right. I mean, this is the whole thing. The report I was reading from CNN actually said that the fight was over. It was done.
Yes.
Right? Everything was peaceful at this point. They got there too late.
Thanks to Jonathan Price.
Thanks to Jonathan Price. He got it all calmed down and got the whole situation calmed down. And then, the cop, I think, saw a big black man and, decided that he was a threat, right? Because that's that whole implicit bias thing at work in his subconscious, basically saying he's got to take this guy down. And he wasn't even the one fighting. Who was I'm forgetting the name right now, but the last major incident that was blown up as well was also an issue of a black man breaking up a fight between two other people, and then winds up getting killed by the police. This is the second one in the last few months that has happened like this.
Yeah, I mean, listen, so when we talk about, this brings me back to a couple of critical issues. Tonight, by the way, at 7 p.m., we're going to have a shortened town hall for Power Live Free. I'll be co-moderating it with Elder Melanie DeBose. This is our ongoing work around police accountability. Tune in on Facebook Live at Power Interfaith, or you could do it on my page, Mark Kelly Tyler. But we'll be talking about police oversight. We'll only be on from 7 to 8 because of the debate tonight. Tonight we're going to have on, we've been doing this every other Wednesday for a couple of months now, actually 3 months. And we'll have the former head of the San Francisco Police Oversight Commission and one of the persons who works for their department on police accountability. They're kind of broken up into two. Mm-hmm. But across the country, people have been wrestling with greater accountability and transparency around policing and tamping down on what police departments do. A lot of this has to do with hiring, right? It's clear Sean Lucas should never have been a police officer, because if you are that scared, as I continue to say, if you're that scared, then you don't need to be a cop. That if you're so afraid of a person with his hands up who has been tased that you still have to shoot and kill him, I don't know how in the world you shouldn't even been a security guard with a flashlight at Walmart, let alone given a weapon. And so a part of what we have to do is take control over our local police departments again. The police around this country have proven that they cannot do it by themselves. They need civilian intervention and civilian oversight. And please, I know somebody will say we already have that because they report to mayors or city council. That is not working. The FOP has gotten into it, politics has gotten into it, and this process is fraught. And the people who are paying for it, as Tawanda said on Facebook Live, it's us.
That's right.
Stop killing us. Stop killing us. Jeez.
Yeah, this is very frustrating, and it is just absolutely not necessary, right? Just absolutely not necessary. I mean, if you go back and look at a lot of these shootings, they're just not justified by any means whatsoever. And it's basically people's fear of the black man and the black woman that causes this to happen in the first place. If we go back to Philando Castile, his girlfriend got pulled over at a traffic stop. The cop asked him for his ID. Why does he need his ID? Why did he need that? That was in Minnesota when that happened, right? And then he winds up shooting him with his daughter in the back seat, right? Now, you talk about endangerment and a whole bunch of other things. I mean, it's like when you begin to think about a lot of these cases, they don't make any sense. Who was the guy that was shot down in Alton Sterling down in Louisiana? Who was the guy in South Carolina that was running away from the cop and he shot him in the back and then took a gun out of his pocket and threw it on the ground to make it seem like
he took the taser.
Taser,
and planted the taser. Didn't know he was on camera. That was Walter Scott's shooting.
Yeah,
now that officer was arrested, convicted, and has gone to jail. Yeah. But that's the rare. But see, that's the rare occasion, right?
Right.
Because if there was no video in the case of Walter Scott,
he got off. I mean, the cop got off. Absolutely.
Yeah, he'd be out campaigning for his favorite presidential candidate right now.
That's a shame. That's a shame, and yet so true.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. So, but again, I want to just reiterate that it's not that we're powerless in this moment, right? And that, so elections have consequences, and you have to vote all the way down the ballot. So this November 3rd, if you're voting in Philadelphia, vote yes on the question as to whether or not Philadelphia shall have its own civilian-led police oversight. We've already gotten the commitment from everyone on the Public Safety Committee. Curtis Jones is the chair. They all said on our town hall 2 weeks ago that, yes, they support this new department being outside of the realm of the mayor's office. That means that we're going to have to, find a way. Here's one of the best ideas I heard. When we had the alderman from Chicago on, a couple of months ago, his suggestion is, and Chicago, by the way, has one of the strongest oversight boards because their oversight board can look at the body cam before the police in a shooting like this. Their oversight board notifies the next of kin when it's an officer-involved shooting and killing. They have investigation powers. But the alderman there said it's still not strong enough. He said, what'll make it stronger?
What's that?
He said, what we need is that the board itself needs to be elected directly from the people, not appointed.
Wow.
Not appointed by council, not appointed by the mayor, but that the oversight board itself should be elected in districts that are made up in the city of all the police precincts and represents the entire city, just like if it were a regular election. That would mean then that areas like Mantua and the Southwest and North Philly and West Philly would have as much representation as Chestnut Hill, Society Hill, and any other part of the city, that everybody needs a voice. And if you're asking me, I think that's how we need to get this new board situated once we decide what it's going to look like. It needs to be directly from the people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for hyper-democracy in that regard, and especially since if the people are paying their salaries, which we do with their taxes, if you pay Philadelphia city wage tax, you pay taxes here in the city of Philadelphia, you're paying for your police protection. You ought to have some say in how it operates and how it works in the city right now. So I totally agree with that. I think one of the challenges, not to switch topics, actually staying on the topic, but there was a press conference the other day, it was reported in the Inquirer, that both District Attorney Krasner and Commissioner Outlaw were speaking out about the rampant gun violence running around the city. And I think there was a little bit of an effort on the part of the police commissioner to throw the DA under the bus. But because she was basically saying, we see more people that have, gun convictions on the street shooting, which probably was not very helpful. But I think, and she's disgusted, and rightly so. I think everybody's disgusted by the whole thing. I think the DA's disgusted by it as well. But I mean, here's the challenge. And actually, I got to give the mayor credit on this one. I got to give the mayor credit. It was reported in the article that the mayor said, well, it's coronavirus and our economic conditions, and we haven't been able to do what we need to do economically to address some of these things. And I think one of the challenges that we have, that I will say this over and over again, is that we will not stop. I mean, it's much the same way in Chicago as well. Until you address the deep poverty, and the systemic deep poverty, right? It's not like you're poor for a minute or you're just poor because of COVID. It's like folk that were poor before COVID got poorer during COVID, and were driven to a deeper level of despair and desperation. And until you are actually able to address not only the economic conditions, but also the psychosocial factors that come along with that, we're going to continue to have this problem. And I think People think that we can police our way out of it, we can arrest our way out of it, we can convict our way out of it. It is going to take a lot more than that to be able to address these issues. And it would just be helpful if our criminal justice system, and I appreciate the Commissioner Outlaw in saying this, she's like, we're just one part of the system. And I'm like, yes, you are. But they would, and you've talked about this. We talked about this yesterday. So, I mean, I feel like I'm repeating the same thing, but it warrants repeating if people keep saying the same thing as well, that we need to have a city-level strategy, maybe even a state-level strategy, right? Because some state factors play into this as well, where there is a task force, a team that's not designed to study the problem. We don't need to study it. We know what the problem is. We need a team that's going to look at totally fixing and revamping our systems and structures so that we can actually become a city that works for everybody. And I just think, until people are really willing to commit the time and energy to really addressing this issue, and it's not just the anti-violence groups or the anti-gun groups or the criminal justice folk that are addressing it, but everybody looks at it from mental health, from economic, whether from education, whether we're looking at all those pieces and coming together to a solution, we're just not going to be able to solve this issue.
Well, you're absolutely right. And listen, before we go to break, you can't do any of this without voting. And as I said before, this is on the ballot. So police oversight in Philadelphia is actually on the ballot, as well as language around strengthening stop and frisk rules. But Sheila raised the question, who's organizing rides to the polls? So Power Interfaith has actually rented some vans and is going to be available with drivers. And I guess we can give that information out when we come back on the other side. But we should talk about that every day as well, that there will be, at least Power Interfaith, I know is doing it. Others will be doing it as well. Churches, I've heard, are organizing it. But we want to get the souls to the polls beforehand. But again, we'll pick this up on the other side. This is the Power Hour, sitting with Bishop Dwayne Rice and Mark Kelly, who's running for the Senate in Arizona. We'll be right back.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
But they've got the experience.
I'm still in shock 3 or 4 years later that we're in this position now. Our democracy is at a pivotal point.
From the top, we don't trust our government. We see the trouble we're in economically. We've got 170,000 Americans dead, and yet this president will do anything he can to make it seem like things are better than they are.
I did more for the black community than anybody with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln.
It's our responsibility. If we don't lead that effort to make things better, we can't ask other people to do it. There is no good reason not to vote.
Right, we need to have individuals that are in office like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
They are our best shot to take us forward.
And that's what makes me incredibly hopeful, but we really do have to work for this thing.
To the thousands who did not vote, we need you to show up for our future and for our country.
You cannot sit on the sidelines. You got to get in the game.
Paid for by Biden for president.
Reverend Tyler, with November 3rd around the corner, do you know how you'll be voting this year?
Dr. Callahan, I requested my mail-in ballot, and I'm returning it the day it comes in the mail.
That's perfect, because we can't leave anything to chance this year.
Already received your mail-in ballot? You're just a few simple steps away from turning your mailbox into a ballot box. Here's how. After selecting your candidates, place your marked ballot into the small secrecy envelope and seal it. It's a 2-envelope process, so then you'll place the small secrecy envelope into the larger one. Make sure to seal that one too. Sign and date it, and then it's as simple as dropping it in your mailbox, no postage necessary, or returning it to your county election office. And if you still want to sign up to vote by mail or find out where to drop off your mail-in ballot, visit votespa.com.
I'm not waiting until November 3rd. I'm returning my mail-in ballot the day it comes in the mail.
Or you can return your ballot to your county election office.
I've got my plan. Make your plan to vote today.
Paid for by Power Interfaith.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. A bit of volume building. This report sponsored by United Healthcare. Southbound 95, you're going to find that getting busy now from Cobbin down through Bridge. Again, Allegheny through Girard. Northbound, no issues. Westbound Vine slows from 8th Street out through Broad. Then Lake Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill westbound, there's a jam ride from Bear Avenue through 30th Street because of construction. Further west, no other problems. Eastbound 76 also in pretty good shape so far. The 8 Turnpike, Blue Route 476 moving fine. The Boulevard Route 1 southbound looks good into the Schuylkill Expressway. 55 northbound, getting heavy now north of Deptford into to 42. United Healthcare is America's #1 Medicare plan provider. Visit uhcmedicaresolutions.com to learn more. That's uhcmedicaresolutions.com. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour with Mark Kelly Tyler and Dwayne Royster. We're appreciating all of our comments on there. And I apologize, Sheila, I did not see your question. I do like them. I just want to people know that we're acknowledging that you're out there. But I did not see that. But let me just respond to that a little bit. Power has rented 5 vans. 3 of them will be in Philadelphia. 2 will be in other areas of the state. And we actually are setting up a phone number. We'll have the phone number tomorrow morning for folk to be able to get rides to drop off their ballot at an election station, one of the election offices, or to drop it off at the election bureau. We have PPE. The vans are being set up. Part of it, we also have to get the van set up so that we can create safe spaces in the van for folk to be able to get in. We're basically going to do one family at a time. So we won't be able to pick large numbers of people up and drop them off. We're going to take folk as they need to go to be able to drop their ballot off, or to vote, to register to vote, to request their ballot, to get their ballot and then vote at the same time at the election station. So all of that will be going on. And again, we'll have the number tomorrow morning to be able to lift up. And I just want to say something, because something important there. According to the way state law is, the person who is submitting the absentee ballot actually has to be the one delivering the ballot. So we will have to figure that out. That's why we're getting the vans. We want to be able to get seniors. Actually, I think we got minivans, so they're actually easier to get in and out of, so folk can, get around and do what they have to do. So that the vans are already here. We just have to get the number set up, and hopefully we'll have that done today. We'll be able to bring that back to the show tomorrow. So folk have that information and they are able to access. We're also giving away personal protective equipment for folk that get into the van: mask, gloves, hand sanitizer. The driver will be sealed off by plastic from others in the van at the same time. So we're trying to create as safe space as possible for folk to be able to get access back and forth to their polling place, the election sites that they're going to go to across the city. So again, that information, more information will be coming out tomorrow about that, and hopefully we'll be running some ads on that as well, so people can just call and request rides.
Yep, got to get you to the polling places and to the satellite sites, and I would recommend you get to one of those satellite sites ASAP. The Trump administration, well, and the Trump campaign is still fighting in Philadelphia, trying to they're trying to insert their, I guess, poll watchers, but as the county election commissioners keep saying, these are technically not polling places. You can deliver your ballot and drop it in there, but it's not a polling place, so to speak. And so it doesn't have everything else. So this is in court right now. It doesn't look like they're going to prevail, but even if they do, I don't know if they can strike the sites down. I think they're just trying to insert their people there. But again, you got to watch out for all the shenanigans and all the tricks. They are fighting any type of early voting around the country. So for those people who say early voting doesn't matter, I would say to you, then ask yourself, why is it that in New Jersey and in other parts of the country, wherever there's early voting, the only campaign that's challenging it is Donald Trump's campaign. Yep. And typically in the most diverse communities, i.e. the black places and the brown places, because they recognize that for whatever reason, early voting is something that we tend to do well. Ohio and Florida had done souls to the polls for a very long time. You're going to be hearing more about that as well, in addition to about the vans. But some of us are working independently of this campaign with Power, but there'll be certainly people from Power, I'm sure, in it as well, to organize souls to the polls, trying to get people to go and turn your ballots in early. We'd love to see clergy showing up in their clergy regalia at these satellite sites. I don't want to call them polling places because that's not what they are, but at these satellite sites, leading their congregations in early. Preachers and priests and imams and rabbis and whoever, Again, because we do need to make sure a couple of things. One, we know with all this going on with the post office that if you can get to one of these 17 sites, do that. It's going to bypass one step. And if you're afraid of actually going to the polling place on the 3rd, this is the best option. But we also need poll workers because we want polling places open. Somebody's got to actually show up at the polls on the 3rd. So those who are healthy, who are younger, should also plan to do that. But whatever you do, have a voter plan. That's the point. Have a voter plan for Pennsylvania. Let's not leave it up to chance. So listen, couple of things. I mean, there's still so much out here. Raphael Warnock, speaking of elections, man, shout out to my homeboy. Raphael was at Morehouse when I was at Clark. We've known each other that many years.
Is he Alpha?
Raphael, I think, did pledge Alpha later. Yeah. Okay. So if I'm not mistaken. But Raphael, pastor of the historic Ebenezer Baptist Church of, you may have heard of a guy named Martin Luther King, of that fame. Raphael is now like 8 points ahead of his closest competitor in a 5-way race for U.S. Senator from Georgia.
Right.
He's running against a super rich millionaire. He says, I'm not sure if this is true because everybody in the Senate is a millionaire, all 100 of them from what I understand. But he said he's running against Kelly Loeffler, who is the richest U.S. Senator. And he's got her by 8 points. And he's widening the gap. Man, what is going on in the South?
Well, I mean, right. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, first of all, Georgia might actually become the first state that's a majority black state in the country, like in the modern era. So, I mean, during the day of slavery, actually, there were some states that actually had more blacks in it than whites.
Oh, South Carolina, for sure.
Right, but like in the modern era, Georgia might actually become the first state that is actually majority African American. So, and I mean, I think Raphael's, he's got a good message. He's got a good reputation, and he's putting in the work down there. He's got folk around the country supporting him as well. So, I think the South is poised. It's going through a change right now. I mean, especially some of the states that are turning purple. I'm going from red to purple. Some of them are not, but some are. And I think there's more progressive. I mean, what's similar to Georgia that is to Pennsylvania is that Atlanta is a dominant force in the state, in much the same way that Philly can be a dominant force in Pennsylvania. So I think, he's generating that from Atlanta as well.
Well, can I, since we're here, can I talk about my pet peeve again? I haven't talked about it in a while, about Pennsylvania.
What's that?
And our token black seat.
Our token black seat, yes.
We have never had more than one elected federal official, a state representative, because we certainly have not had a U.S. senator in Pennsylvania that's black. We have not had more than one black U.S. House representative at a time. Period.
That's right.
Let that sink in. Go do a quick Google search. See how many black House representatives are in Mississippi. It's more than Pennsylvania. Check out Alabama. Check out, I don't know, anywhere. Pennsylvania with Philadelphia, with, these other like deep pockets of black voters across the state, and Pittsburgh. So you all love Franco Harris and the Steelers and all of that fame, but Pittsburgh won't elect anybody black to Congress. I mean, it is beyond baffling how in this state, black folk have just somehow accepted that it's okay to have, I call it the Robert Nix seat. It's the Robert Nix token black seat because he was the first one to have it. They gave it to him. He didn't take it. They gave it to him. Here you go, sir. Then you hold this for all the black people and you'll give it to whoever we tell you to. So Lucian, you can have it. Bill, you can have it. Shaka, you can have it. Dwight, you can have it. And no black women, only black men. You all, let me just say, I'm sorry, I'm an outsider. I'm from Cali. I got this radical idea that the Congress and the representatives from your state should be diverse and reflect your state. So forgive me for my upbringing and being rude coming into the city saying this is crazy.
No, this is crazy.
Y'all need to make some noise about this.
I got a solution to the problem, though. I got a solution to the problem. Tawanda already hit it for me. I was going there, but Tawanda just hit it for us on Facebook. In 2022, there will be an open race for the Senate seat.
Let's run somebody black.
I think you should run.
Oh, wow. Who, Tawanda? Tawanda, no, you should run.
No. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about Mark Kelly Tyler. You already got the name. People in Arizona already think you're running for Senate, so why not do it here in Pennsylvania?
Well, I would at least get the motorcycle vote.
Let me just ask. I'm gonna ask the folks, because we got to get ready to close out here in a minute. But I'm gonna ask the listeners: should Mark Kelly Tyler run for Senate? You all should post about that, whether he should do that.
Well, Mark Kelly is already running for the Senate.
No, I said Mark Kelly Tyler. I said Mark Kelly Tyler should run for Senate.
I could just ask Mark Kelly in Arizona for all of his stuff, right?
Just write Tyler on the back end of it.
Hey man, can I get all that? Don't throw your stuff away. Don't throw any of your stuff away. And luckily, you just put 20. You didn't put 2020. You just put 20. I was like, scribble in 22. Yeah, right.
All right.
I hear you. But I'm just saying, seriously, bro. I mean, seriously. In all fairness and in all truth, there has to be a reckoning with the Pennsylvania Democratic Party, right? And that the party has got to understand. I have said this publicly to them. I've said it privately to them. That this plantation mentality is not acceptable, and the way in which you pay for it is typically on big election days. So right now, people are fretting over Pennsylvania and the black vote because of this neglect.
Yeah,
I'm just saying you can't keep neglecting a whole group of people and then think there's a magic switch we can turn on. Representation is not everything, but representation does matter, and you can't put it all on Dwight. I love Dwight. Dwight's my guy. 100%. But I'm sure he would say, if you asked him and pressed him, should we have somebody else in there along with you? He'd say, absolutely. Yeah. I'm just saying that is my pet peeve.
So let me just say that the challenge with Pittsburgh is that Pittsburgh as a city is not big enough to have a congressperson by themselves, right? So I think it's like 850,000 people constitutes a Congress seat, right? And so it actually has to depend on the larger county area around it, and that's where the problem comes in when you start to get to some of the suburbs.
Hold on. Gary says, can Rev run for the Senate and Bishop at the same time? LOL. I just sounds running for anything.
Look, before we get in trouble, this was an idea. It was a joke, y'all. It was a joke. Let me just put it out there. Although I would support you if you ran, but let me just say that this would, because somebody would be like, he's in that. No, he's not running for office. We're just joking about this. Anyway, our time is up. We really appreciate everybody for checking in today. Thank you all for lively conversation on Facebook. We didn't get a chance to, with no callers today, but that's all right. We had a lot to talk about. We'll be back first thing tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to talk about the latest in politics, issues that are impacting your world, and of course, give you our opinions. You've been listening. Huh?
Hey, tonight's the debate, so you got to watch it because we may give you a quiz on tomorrow.
Well, 7 o'clock tonight is the town hall, the power town hall around the police oversight. And then 9 o'clock tonight is the debate. Please make sure that you check out both of them and then be here with us tomorrow morning as we break it down and share. Thank you, Quaitha Masters. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back. Go change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody will.
I do what I can when I can while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling?
Reverend Tyler, with November 3rd